Welcome back to the best of Rslash. Today we're taking a look at Malicious Compliance, where OP shows his butthole to the security guard so he can stop being harassed. My coworker, an absolute hero, maliciously complied at security on one of our subcontractor jobs. The customer was a manufacturer for high-end electronic components. Security was tight as a small 4-inch and by 6-inch box could contain $250,000 worth of microchips. Our team was installing equipment in their facility for 1 week. The security checkpoint had to be passed every trip in or out of the building. Mr. Security Guard, Chad maybe, decided my coworker Steve probably was more suspicious than the other 4 techs. So every trip in or out, not only was Steve made to dump his entire contents of his backpack out of the table and go through it, Chad required Steve to show him the last 5 pictures taken on his phone to prove he wasn't selling secrets. This is all fine, except Chad lets everyone else through without any sort of inspection. Steve is trying to stay positive, but obviously this is eating away at him. Steve tries to be overly positive and also a bit snarky with comments like, "Thank you, Paul Blart, for keeping America safe," which busts up the rest of our crew. Then, Steve has the idea that will free him the rest of the week. Wednesday comes along. Steve is overly scrutinized on our way in as usual. As we head to security at lunch, Steve says he has to go to the bathroom. He comes back out a few minutes later, absolutely giddy. Chad Blart, mall cop, stops us on our way out and asks Steve to see his camera roll. Steve gladly hands the phone over. Chad is then greeted by some very peculiarly angled shots of Steve's butthole. What the fuck? Chad throws the phone down on the table. "Oh, sorry, I thought I had a hemorrhoid and wanted to see how bad it was. Is everything okay with my pictures? Is the facility safe?" Chad never checked Steve's materials again. Good on you, Steve. And then Malicious Snooper in the comments posted, "A good security guard also checks the back door." Nice. I love this one. This next one has been posted by Spiral MX. I took a biology class my sophomore year in high school, and my teacher was pretty cool. She was laid back, funny, and didn't have your typical teacher vibe. She had set up a curse jar in the room, and the funds were used to pay for supplies. 25 cents if you swore, but $1 if you dropped an F-bomb. One day, we were doing some group work in tables, the ones with the Bunsen burner and the sink in the middle. Behind me was a kid that was particularly annoying and pretty talkative. Patrick was probably the type of kid who later went on to cure cancer or create Minecraft. Smart kid, but he was basically a 17-year-old Martin from The Simpsons. Anywho, we're all trying to do our work, and Patrick is getting on my nerves. He keeps making loud, bad jokes and poking his head in on our project, telling us what we were doing wrong. I asked him twice to just worry about his own table, but the third time, I lost it. I walked up to the front of the class, pulled out my wallet, grabbed $1, and put it on the teacher's desk, turned around and said quite loudly, "Patrick, shut the fuck up!" I walked back to my table and sat down. The entire class was silent and was staring at me, and then the teacher. She looked down at the dollar bill on her desk and started laughing out loud. The rest of the class joined in, and Patrick shrunk into his seat. The teacher then said, "Well, he paid for his $1. And that's the story of how I told a kid to shut the freak up in class without getting into any trouble. I love that. If I could do that anytime, I would do the same. Thank you so much, Spiral MX. The next post has been made by Pocket Moriarty's. I live on a long, hilly rural road. It has a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit and is a no-passing zone the entire way. It's illegal, unsafe, and nearly impossible to pass someone, no matter how slowly they're going. Because it's a quiet road and away from the town, locals will normally drive 50 to 55 miles an hour. This was fine until the police started setting up speed traps. Because the road is so hilly, it's easy to accidentally go 55 miles per hour when going downhill. This is how they got me and a lot of my neighbors. Okay, fine, it is technically speeding, but I leave work around the time they start heading back home. So I either see them fly ahead of me at 60 miles an hour or tailgate me the entire way home. It really pisses me off. So I started driving the speed limit. Exactly the speed limit. 45 miles down the entire stretch of road. When we come to those sharp turns, I go all the way down to 25 miles per hour suggested speed. Almost every night, a cop gets stuck behind me the entire way, and there's no way for them to pass me. They also can't turn on another road because all of the others are just gravel back roads that lead to farms. My long, hilly road is their only route. It definitely pisses them off. They will turn their brights on and weave around their lane to try and get me to speed up. As soon as I turn onto my driveway, they gun it. I've even had one turn on his lights to make me pull over, only for him to speed past me and drive ahead. It's probably not smart to inconvenience a cop, but what else am I supposed to do? I'm just respecting the speed limit. I think cops get a lot of hate, but this is hilarious and totally well-deserved. Thank you so much, OP. This next one has been posted by Punchology. This is my sister's story, but it's too good not to share. This was back when she was in 2nd grade, and the girl was a perfect child. I wish I was kidding, but no. You know that one kid with the halo and the sweet smile, the manners to make parents proud, and the cutesy little voice? Yep, that's her. But she does have a mean streak when you push her. You would think that all of the teachers loved her, right? Nope, not her 2nd grade teacher. This woman was hellfire personified, and she for some reason hated my little sister. More often than not, my little sister came out of that classroom trying to hold back tears. 2 more very important things about my sister. She has always had lips that would get so chapped they would bleed, and she always carried around Carmex with her. So one day, she was sitting in class with Hell's favorite teacher when she pulls out her tub of Carmex and the teacher immediately starts screeching at her to see her after class. End of class, and the teacher tells her that she must keep the Carmex with the school's office because it says medicated. And back in the day, you had to be literally dying just to go to the office to give you your things. No joke. I'm asthmatic, and it almost took me dying on the office floor for them to hand me my inhaler over. But that's another story. My sister tries to explain that without Carmex, her lips will bleed. But the woman does not care. Well, hell hath no fury, little a sweet baby scorned. Very next morning, she doesn't use any in the morning. Doesn't use any for the ride to school. Doesn't use it before my sister hands the little tub of Carmex over to the office lady, who looks at her very confused, but just does not give a crap. And she heads off to class. She does her best to keep calm when she starts to feel her lips get chapped, keeping her lips as drawn in and neutral as she can. She spends most of the day with her head down and not speaking, until finally the teacher calls on her to answer a math question. Now, I should probably warn everyone this might get a little graphic. Sister lifts her head up, looks this woman right in the eyes, and smiles as wide as she can. Tears are rolling down her cheeks as she can feel her lips splitting open so badly that they're not just bleeding a little. It's rolling down her chin, mixing with her tears, down her neck, and onto the collar of her shirt. This woman screams so loudly that us 3rd graders across the hall could hear it. She ended up ripping her lips so badly that they had to page little 3rd grade me to call my mom to pick her up, and she had to stay home for a couple of days to recover. When she came back, however, not only did the teacher personally hand her Carmex over, she had bought her a few more little tubs of the stuff for just in case she ever ran out, and never bothered her again. I don't know if it was coincidence that year was the last year she taught, but a little part of me likes to think that she met her match in my little sister. Wow, OP, that is amazing. I'm so glad your sister did that just to embarrass the teacher. Good self-sacrifice. And in the comments, Pancreatic Potter leaves a reply. In the late 90s, I was a junior in high school and my family moved from one state to another. In the process of doing so, a lot of household things had to be moved out of storage. The amount of dust that accumulated was enough to cause me to have multiple sneezing fits, to the point where by the time we got everything unpacked in a new state, I had blown a blood vessel in each nostril of my nose. After copious nosebleeds, I go to the doctor and get them fixed by chemical cauterization. A friend told me that she overheard our English teacher telling other students that I had to be making up the whole thing, or was grossly exaggerating the truth when I had to miss a class 1 or 2 times. Well, a day or 2 after the cauterization, I was in class and started sneezing and the dam broke. I head up to the main office to call home so I could go back to the doctor. I'm sitting there trying to stop the bleeding while I wait, and guess who walks right past me? My English teacher, and was waltzing through and literally did a double take when she saw me. Probably because in a desperate move to prevent recreating the elevator scene from The Shining, I had used my own shirt until an alternative was acquired. I looked like a deranged murderer. Part of me really wanted to say, "You should have seen the other guy," but instead opted for the dejected waifu look to really nail home the shame. It must have worked because she actually apologized and never brought it up again. That is an amazing story. Please bleed in front of your teachers if you want to make school changes, I guess. This next one is posted by Low Caddick. Many moons ago, after I married a narcissistic a-hole, he started revealing his douchebaggery in subtle, stupid ways. One way was he stopped doing his chores and stopped cleaning up after himself altogether. This was very insulting because I had always worked a full-time job, and before we had wed, I had been very clear that I was not going to be a housewife and that we would do things equally. Well, his answer to that was to say that I couldn't make him do anything. If I wanted the house to be clean, I'd have to do it myself. For some reason, this made me think of the Simpsons episode with Blinky, the three-eyed fish, where Homer says to Marge she can express herself with her lovely home. So I replied the way Marge did. "Okay, I will," I said, and immediately set to work. Starting with the living room, I gathered my now ex's jacket and clothing he'd left strewn about and tossed them on his computer chair. His backpack and books also dropped on the computer chair. Then I went in the kitchen and took his dirty dishes and boom onto his chair. His dirty laundry, plop, onto the chair, which had fallen over by now, etc., until the house was clean. Yay! Now my ex couldn't use his PC till he cleaned up his shit. That first night, he took it like a man. The next night, when I dumped all his stuff on his chair and for good measure vacuumed the rug and dumped the canister over his crap, he squealed like a pig. "What are you doing?" "I'm cleaning," I answered him. "You wanted me to do it all. Well, this is how I'm going to do it." He started doing his chores after that, and the divorce came later. That is amazing, OP. If you live with a clean person, please be kind and be clean with them. You have been listening to Malicious Compliance, read by the best of Rslash. If you like what we're doing, please like our video and subscribe. It really is a free way to help our channel grow.